Welcome everyone. LinkedIn Live with Phil Davis, and we were just talking before. I actually just got off in LinkedIn Audio 5 minutes ago, and I'm like just trying to get a sense. But it's great in a way because we have some great conversation things that we can bring up here again. So I think we first actually met on that list on the top 25 job search specialists. Do you even know how they got that list together?
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me, Kenneth.
Sure.
I'm almost certain we both did meet on the job scan list
Yes, we
earlier in
did.
the
I
year.
think, yeah.
Yeah, so it was interesting, right? So it's like I know that Claire Davis, which of course you and Claire you had the audio event here just a couple
Right.
minutes ago, which is great. I heard a little bit of the last end of it, which was great. So I want to rehash some of the stuff Claire had said earlier in Virginia as well. But yeah, it's like I guess we were all nominated, at least how I had. I was at least they basically JobScan reached out and they're like, "Hey, you were nominated for this thing." I'm like, "Wait, what is this?" And then it
Yeah,
was like,
you're
"Oh
right.
wait, okay, I think I know some people who got it last year." And then they're like, "Oh, you're one of the 25." And so of course, naturally, it's like, "Okay, let's look at the list." I'm like, I've seen you, of course, on LinkedIn even before
Right.
we connected. I'm like, "Okay, Kenneth's got some really good stuff out." And then we connected, and then it's like, "Hey, let's have this happen." And um, I'm just so happy to be here with you to just take some time out of
Sure.
the busy day. So I thank you, my friend, for
So what is your
tuning in. So
specialty?
what
What
do
is
I do? Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I know kind of what you do, but what do you
yeah.
have a specialty within that?
Oh, for sure. So I'm kind of like a jack of all trades, right? So like I've been in the corporate HR recruiting space for a number of years, and like most of us, just recently, like I call myself like a multiple layoff person, right? So I've been laid off way too many times to count. I mean, well, three times previous, and so I decided back in late 2020 when I had my most recent layoff at the bakery where I was the head of recruiting. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do something different with my life. Like I'm gonna just try to go on my own and try to impact people, because at that time when we had COVID layoffs, it was like, okay, like everybody, I know what other people are going through during that time that we had, and it's like, let me just try to help people out, and just like all of us, like let's try to impact people and bring community together and make a difference. And then what just kind of became just a simple like side project then eventually evolved back in
Mhm.
late 2020, 2021 to become Fulfillment Solutions LLC, my own company that I've had for about a year. So we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary September 1st, coming up in like 2 weeks, which is
Congratulations.
crazy. Thank you. But yeah, I do primarily one-on-one job search strategy with my job seekers. I work primarily with mid-career level
Mhm.
people or folks who want to make a career change or kind of retune or have a new tune into their job search. So we'll talk about music themes in a minute, but I do a lot of interactive one-on-one collaboration with people at this point, and it's been a joy. I'm definitely having a fulfilling time. So.
What do you find? I know from my experience, I find certain challenges with people of a certain age, and one of them is that they're their own worst enemies about stuff. They
Uh,
put up all these blinders, and I wonder if when you talk to people now, especially now as there's more and more layoffs, are there any certain commonalities or things you find when you're talking to different people?
I mean, on my end, like honestly, like what I'm seeing out there from all of these, layoffs and stuff. I mean, there's not really a certain, at least it just is just my viewpoint of it. I'm not seeing like a certain like demographic or a certain, type of individual or person that or a group of folks that's being impacted. I mean, I think just generally speaking, I think
Mm-hmm.
that you're seeing a lot of um, contributory roles, right? Actual people that are doing like day-to-day operations positions, like at different companies, right? Like, so those orgs in tech, we're seeing a lot of those kind of workforce reductions. But there's so many folks impacted. It's just it's it's unreal, but it's also like very real at the same time. And I tell people a lot that I feel one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing reductions is I think there was a lot of not like poor workforce planning, but just kind of unprepared workforce planning.
Mhm.
What I mean by that is, I think that there are a lot of orgs that they just hired very, very, very rapidly last year because we were going into a recovery.
Mhm. Right, right.
And so now it's like, hey, this year you've got, not a lot of people buying products or services. So what do we do as a business? We either need to raise our prices or, reduce headcount or do a combination of two. Hopefully you're trying to figure out pricing and strategy versus actually like getting rid of really hardworking employees. But we've seen that, we've seen a lot of that lately. And it impacts people who are being directly affected, but I also think too it impacts people who are indirectly affected as well. People
So let
like,
me.
yeah,
So this is the question I get almost every
yeah,
time.
yeah.
If you're actively looking for a new role, do you think there's any downside to looking open to work in your LinkedIn profile? And my caveat is this:
Yeah,
there's a difference between the frame and as opposed to putting it in your about section or elsewhere. But let's
yep,
just talk about the frame. I mean, I have my thoughts.
yep,
I'd love to get your thoughts.
yeah. So here's my thing, right? So if you're looking for a role in confidence, right? Like if you are currently working and you absolutely do not want your company like knowing that you're looking for a job, I wouldn't necessarily say don't put it on your page. But if you're,
Mhm.
if you're laid off, if you're wanting your network to know, excuse you, if you're wanting your network to know that, you're looking for a role, then I usually tell people put it up there, and whatever your opinion is on it, whether you're like, oh, well, the open to work makes you look desperate because we've seen both sides of
Mhm.
the coin, if you will. I've had it open when I was looking for work, and I had a number of different conversations that I had when I was actively looking. I'm not actively looking now; I'm more
Right.
passively looking. But I'd say, for me personally, um, if you have it on there and you're wanting your network to know that you're looking, I would probably say put it on there because you've got companies out there, including my own business, that I don't use LinkedIn Recruiter as a side platform. So
Mhm.
if you're not showing me that you're open to work, and I'm a company that doesn't use LinkedIn Recruiter, I'm not going to know unless I reach out and say, "Hey, are you looking for work?" And for me personally too, it's how I get some of my job seeker clients. So the ones that actually have open to work, I will usually reach out to them, kind of see how their job search is going and do stuff there. But it's to everybody has an opinion about it, but
Mhm.
that one's primarily mine. So good
Yeah,
question.
I like the idea of making sure you have your skills listed also, and you add them underneath your job descriptions. And the more places, the better. What I'm also finding a lot is a lot of people who are out of work or are getting let go have no problem posting it on LinkedIn as they're one of, and that's a bit of a shift from years ago when people were out of work. They just kind of kept it to themselves. They didn't really want people to know about it. But now it's like, I need a job, help. So I would wonder, are there any suggestions? I mean, to say you want people to connect with you is all well and good, but what would you suggest to someone who's looking for a job that wants to post something relevant on there
Yeah.
to kind of help themselves stand out?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, so when you go on LinkedIn and let's say you do decide, hey, I want to put the open to work green banner on my picture,
Mhm.
right? So of course, when you do that, LinkedIn will automatically populate a box that says, hey, do you want to share a post that you're open to work? If you click on yes, then of course LinkedIn will give you like their standard language of looking to work, like, hey, I'm open to work, yada yada yada. I would tell people too, and I'm sure you can agree, Kenneth, like personalize that message. So like if you're actually putting the green banner on saying you're open to work, I would actually, write content around that. Share your
Mhm.
story, right? When you're going to say I am available, I am open to work. So personalize that message, and be very, very clear about the kind of role that you're looking for, the kind of industry that you want to, get into, and also the kind of even the kind of companies that you would want to potentially get into, because I think it's important. And then also, call to action, right? Where do you want people to contact you? Do you want them to message you on LinkedIn, right? Do you want them to send you an email? Like, be very clear if you're wanting recruiters or hiring managers or folks to like contact you and reach out to you, to let them know too where you want them to where you can be contacted, because I also think that's important. But
Well, and that brings
yeah.
up the point. People don't always put their email addresses in their about section. So that if you don't put that in there, or if you don't put in there that you're available for remote opportunities, if you don't put in there that you're willing to travel, I mean, the more information that you put in, you want to make it as easy as possible for recruiters, because they're doing so many Boolean searches, so much stuff all the time.
Agree.
And this is always have your bags packed and ready at the door. When I was consulting for like 8-9 years, I used to break up my consulting, if it's a 6-month assignment, into 3 parts. First 2 months, I was getting acclimated. Third, fourth month, I was sort of trying to get a sense of how I was going to be extended. And the 5th or 6th month, I was looking for my next job. Always looking, because I've been down that road so many times. Your last day is your last day. There is no such thing as notice, especially if you're a consultant. And having that mindset helped me over the years as much as possible. The last time it happened, I'd said enough. When I was at AMC, there was like, you're doing good, but I'm like, okay, fine, I get it.
Yeah.
Then, time to move on and get out of corporate, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
So brief pitch in the glow up area, and that's basically the banner. I love the idea of using a cover story to talk about yourself there, and also having a pitch in the back. Neither of those are searchable per se, but you want to set yourself apart, as much as possible. And I'm not a video person, I have to admit it, but that's something you really have to do, is get out of your comfort zone and try to do things.
Completely. I believe it or not, I video, because video, it does take time. Like, it takes a lot of time to record. It takes time to add closed captioning, which I do recommend if you do record yourself on video, whether it is obviously in the live stream, we're going to get closed captioning on this broadcast, but also if you are recording a cover letter video, which is on your LinkedIn profile picture, you can add on your cell phone like a 30-second video of yourself and like your pitch there. I always recommend too, and other folks here on this network recommend putting some closed captioning in there as well. But I don't like video. No. I do it, but I don't like it.
I think people make the mistake at times of, they're posting out there and they assume people are going to come to them. Well, this is a platform and engagement, and you want to build out the relationships. I mean, you and I, we were on a post probably 4 or 5 months ago. It was the first time we'd met.
That's right.
And we just stayed in touch, and we commented on each other's posts, and we stayed in touch. And I just, I said, you want to chat? And it's just what happens. People are and I appreciate you very much for coming here today.
Absolutely.
Because absolutely. I think, so how big a deal is company tenure for Western recruiters? Recruiters, I would say this: job hopping now is a fact of life. And I know that people just getting out in the world have a much different mindset about jobs than I did going out. They have every expectation that they're going to job hop. And they have every expectation they're going to go to the next thing before the thing comes to them. It's just, and in large part, I think it's because their parents, they've seen what their parents have gone through to some extent. I wonder if you get a sense, as a recruiter, if you see someone that's going from 6-month assignment to year assignment, do you think that is a negative?
For me personally, I don't. I don't. We're in a new, like you said, we're in a new day and age right now where, you've got people that are in short assignments. Like for me, for example, right, if I'm doing any kind of recruiting work under my business, I've got assignments that might be as needed. I've got assignments that might be 2-3 months. I might have assignments that are a year long. It just depends. And I think whether you're a full-time employee, part-time employee, contractor, consultant, just in this day and age, and just the amount of technology that's out there for people to, be able to work more remotely, or more in a flexible environment. um, you know, short, long tenure stuff like that. I mean, all of that stuff is more commonplace, and I think, I think just companies too, a lot of organizations, also have to be aware of that as well. I mean, a case in point, I'll get a little personal on y'all. Like, I mean,
Uh,
I've been through 3 jobs before my coaching business, recruiting business. I had 3 jobs, right? 3 jobs back to back. Each position I was at a little over a year's time as a full-time employee. 2 of those roles were workforce reductions. I was laid off twice.
mhm.
And so those, by looking on resume or looking on my, LinkedIn or my paper, or, CV, whatever you want to call it, it shows, hey, year long employment, right? And it's like, with layoffs, you can't control when, when that's going to happen. And I think, especially now, just since 2020 and the pandemic, we've seen layoffs then, we're seeing layoffs now. Some of those tenures may not be a year, 2 years, 3 years long. You may only be at a company for a couple months and then something happened. But that is, like, I mean, it's like you said, that's a way of life. And I think when it comes to tenure, whether it's long or short, I mean, we're all human, right? We're all going through our own, journeys, our own paths. And when it comes to employment, in the workforce, I think that companies need to really learn and understand people's stories, those folks that they're interviewing and their situations, because we're all going through something. So that's what I would say.
I think a lot of recruiters, especially, have been in transition now for a while, so they totally get it. And I think a fair amount of hiring managers have too.
Sure.
What I've heard, and I don't disagree with this, is a lot of times these hiring managers do multiple rounds of interviews, just kind of as a CYA, because none of them want to make the wrong decision to hire someone. So they do interviews and interviews, and I just wish the process would be simplified. But everyone is so afraid in corporate, and they have to be willing to take a chance to hire people who may not have the exact skill set, but could definitely do the job. And Mary Fain, who was my guest last week, asked, how should career professionals use the
Yep.
cover story video? And I would answer to Mary Fain, it's an elevator pitch. It's a way for you to sell yourself. One of my contacts, and actually did this at a networking event meeting with an elevator pitch, she brought up five large cards, a 10, jack, queen, king, and ace.
Uh-huh.
And she made a whole presentation about she's the jack of all trades for this, and she'd be the queen of this and the king of this, and I'm the ace in the hole.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I thought that was so cool, because I remember who she was, but I will never forget that. So if you can come up with something gimmicky like that, it just would set yourself apart. So, Charlie, how do you recommend telling your story on LinkedIn?
Oof. Big question. There's so many different ways I think you can. I think through content creation, right? Through just actually sharing a post. I think a big one is commenting. I think is a really big one. Like, if you're not comfortable in posting content on your own page, I think commenting. I mean, again, that's how you and I met. Like, just through our accolade, but also through commenting on each other's posts and stuff, and really getting to know each other that way through engaging on your posts and vice versa. But I think, commenting is a really good way where you can continue conversations with other with people who are posting content out there, by sharing your value, right? By sharing some experiences you've had. So I think that's a really good way to do that, to share your story. But then also, I think it's also important too, like on your LinkedIn profile, right? Like having it like elevator pitch, yes, but also having it in a way where it's like, hey, you're inviting people into who you are, versus saying something like, oh, I have this many years experience of that and yada yada yada. Like, really bringing in some of the personality, of your personality, and really of you in your profile, because LinkedIn is it's really like your website. I would say it's it's a really good way. I'll say it. It is your own personal / professional website. It's sharing your story, professionally and the things that you do and how you impact other people, how you've impacted companies, but then also being open and inviting um, to letting your community know who you are and what you want to be known for, I would say. So great question. Really good questions.
One of the things I did when I was actually on vacation in Boston, when I did this, I actually posted a picture of me walking around Boston, and I said, just to let my network know, I'm out of the office on vacation. I'll check back with you when I come back. It's important to have some time to decompress. And that's all I did, because we're so used to, we're in the office putting an out of the office message. I'm out of the office. Please contact so and so. So I thought that was just a cool thing to do, and I figured it's me. And it was good practice because it was a horrible video. First person to admit it, but it was just something that I was able to do. And so you just definitely want to make it be about yourself. I mean, we're not perfectionists. None of us really know how to do video. I mean, despite what some people may think. I mean, this is just all just us trying to be ourselves.
Yeah. And that's who we should be, is ourselves. I mean, I think a lot of times you see, I mean, there's a lot of content out here. Like there's a lot of really good content. There's a lot of meaningful content, but then there's also just a lot of content. Like, I'm not going to say terrible. I'm not going to say bad, because I try to keep positivity in what I do, right, and impact, but there's a lot of content out there. So how can we be different in a way that's going to keep that discussion going, and really bring in people to learn who you are, and to just make the conversation easy and simple. I know that I've seen a couple comments in here too where folks are like, keep it simple.
Well, and
right here. Here's a good one.
Humble bragging, just to let everyone know. I mean, I know what the term is, and everyone else. It's about. Well, what do you consider humble bragging? I'll ask you.
Humble brag. That's a good one. Talking about yourself, yes, but in a way that is going to show empathy and understanding to the other side, like to the party, or to the audience, if you will.
Yeah,
so.
It's. I think in general, we all kind of, it's hard for some of us to toot our own horns and tell everyone how great we are, even though we are. And so I think that's kind of a way to do it. It's, I'm good, but this is why I'd be good for you, sort of thing.
I love it.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious to know. I mean, I see some familiar faces here. Anyone else want to chime in and let us know where you're checking in from? I'm up here in New Jersey, outside of New York City, and I have to tell you, I was in the city this past weekend for the first time in a really long time, going to the city, and it is like it used to be, which is not necessarily good or bad. It's just very, very crowded up there. So do you have a comfort level of now going out in person more to see, do things more in real time, whether it's an in-person networking event?
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I know you're good. I mean, for me, for me personally, like, I have to be around people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very extroverted. So
I can tell.
Very extroverted, yeah. So that's just who I am. I'm full of energy. I like punning my name in a lot of stuff. Obviously, Fulfillment, my business name. So that's just me. I'm kind of quirky like that. But I have started getting into more like kind of smaller, in-person networking events and stuff. Like, networking is a big deal. All of my work I do with my clients is primarily fully remote right here digitally, which is amazing. But I've met, local clients before, and we've had, coffee chats and stuff face to face, and seeing family and friends and stuff like that. It's always important, I think. And sometimes for me too, I'll go to like a local coffee shop, and I may work like once a week or something outside of my home. So I've got like a change of scenery. So for me, I've started doing a little bit more of it, but obviously, still being aware and being, cognizant of my surroundings and things like that. But it's what I've been doing so far.
So this brings up the bigger question. Are users going to get numb to video? I'll ask on top of that, LinkedIn has become so much more like Facebook now. Whether it's good or bad is a different discussion. So I wonder, I'm a little numb to video myself in general, but I also know some good people to follow. What do you think about that whole discussion about being
Just
numb to video, and how you think that how LinkedIn is even becoming more Facebooky, and if that's a good thing or not?
yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think I still, at the end of the day, I mean, I do the majority of my content I do primarily on text anyways. Like I don't do video every single day. I don't have time for that. I actually think of the last time I did my video was maybe like 2 weeks ago. Because I usually am supposed to do a video on Friday, like every Friday, but I've actually been, I'll say it, I've been lazy to not actually do video. But yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm with you. Like, is LinkedIn's kind of sort of, is it kind of becoming like Facebook and da 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 da? You could say something like that. But I mean, I think still at the end of the day, I still think that LinkedIn, for me, I mean, this is where I go every
Mhm.
single day when I wake up, because I have a Facebook account. I don't use it for business at all. I
Mhm.
don't even go on there anymore. But this is where I live. Like, I have other social accounts that I use every now and then for business and personal, but as far as where I go and the type of interactions that I get with people. And I mean, heck, I could tell you right now, I would not be doing this exact same conversation on Facebook. Like, so I think LinkedIn is still its own, unique and powerful platform, and it's going to remain that way. But I also think too that there's certain elements of it that do seem like it is kind of turning into that. But it just we all just have to kind of live in the now and just kind of keep things going, in the present moment, one day at a time on here. But I won't go anywhere else,
Yeah, I got to
primarily.
tell you,
So
you are as extroverted as they come. You and Lauren Greif. Lauren Greif was my first. Do you know Lauren
yeah,
Greif?
oh yeah,
So I almost wonder. I mean, introverts like myself, and we get through this and we do this and all that, um, and we keep up with each other. How do two extroverts have a conversation? I mean, I'm just curious because there's so much high energy here.
yeah.
What do you do?
I try to listen more than talk.
Okay.
I do. I really try to. Well, I think for me, like, truly, I really just breathe. Because when I get excited, I'm just like, oh, let's scroll a moment. Oh my gosh. Oh wait, there's shiny object.
But the thing
Stuff
is
like
this: you go from one screen to the other, one screen to the other, and
that.
I get tired after a while.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing though, because it's so important, because there's all different types of people out there, and we all kind of learn from each other a lot. Joey, who's one of my New Jersey clan, not that way, one of my
Yeah.
New Jersey folk. What's the most important feature of LinkedIn the job seekers must use?
Ooh. Oh, such a good. All these really good questions.
Mm,
I think the biggest one, right? So, oh goodness, I think that if you're wanting to connect with like a recruiter or a hiring manager, or like, let's say you're interested in this in ABC company, right? And you're
mhm,
wanting to connect with the hiring manager or a recruiter at that company, um, to establish an introduction and stuff. I personally am big on personalized LinkedIn messages. So when you actually send a connection request, you can send a personalized note to that recruiter. I think it's up to 300 characters long, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
But really bringing out, don't just connect and that's it. Like, really bring a personalized message. Like, why are you connecting with me? Um, when you send a connection request, right? Is it to get into a position, right? But like, also don't say, hey, help me find a job at your company, right? Like, be very specific. If there's a role that you see at that company that you're interested in, go ahead and apply to it, and then let that recruiter, that hiring manager know in that personalized note, hey, really interested in this opportunity, would love to, introduce myself,
Mhm.
and learn more about you, that kind of thing. So really, like, of all, because I get swamped. And the thing is, I don't recruit for companies. I'm not recruiting for businesses right now. Like, I'm doing primarily one-on-one coaching, but you'd be surprised at how many different connection requests I get with either with no personalized note, or they send me a personalized note and they say, hey, help me find a job. Like, I, as much as I want to help people find a job, I can't help everybody find a job, because I have clients, I have stuff like that. So really personalize, 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 personalize. What
Right.
has you interested in connecting with me? Is there something on my LinkedIn page that caught your eye, or something that I wrote, or something that I shared, or
Mhm.
something that I'm doing that has you interested in establishing connections. So do your research and do your due diligence when you want to connect with somebody on this platform. That's what I would say.
And my part along with that is engagement. And I believe in using use the searching on LinkedIn, not just for a job title, maybe for a topic that you're interested in, engaging on, and then be part of the conversation. Because I've made some of my best connections through engagement, like yourself and others. You just never know. I think there's a fear or a mindset that LinkedIn is just for job search, just for applying for jobs, just for connecting. And I think there's much more to the platform, but most people don't realize how great it can be. And that kind of pivots into my question from Alex Freund. Most people's LinkedIn's profiles are poor, and he thinks they don't recognize that LinkedIn is their marketing collateral, and it takes a professional to do it right. Do you think that someone can do a LinkedIn profile on their own with good feedback? My belief is that it has to be in your voice, my voice, your voice. I think you can work with someone to help you get there. Do you think most people's LinkedIn profiles are poor in that way, in terms that they don't really tell you who the person is? It's just like resume regurgitation, if you will.
Yeah, that there's that question, right? Like that, hey, should your LinkedIn be exactly like your resume, like word for word, all this kind of stuff. I personally don't think so. I say it again, like as prior, your LinkedIn is your personal website. Like it is truly a website of you and your story. And so I think it's okay, to personalize it, like really to, yes, you can have achievements, you can have accolades, you can have value add on your LinkedIn. Absolutely. 1,000%, of course. But, really, like you said, really speaking or writing content on your page, your about section, your headline, that stuff that sings. For me, it sings. I'm an opera singer. That's what I did in school. That sings or speaks your voice.
You're gonna sing? You're gonna give us a sample?
Oh my goodness. I can, if you want me to.
Sure, go ahead.
No pressure. Yes, I said I don't like video, not so I don't like singing on video.
No, I'm just kidding. If you don't want.
That's all good. But yeah, but oh my gosh, what was I gonna say? Personalizing it. Tell your story, share your story on here, because again, we all have our own unique stories to share. And this is, in my mind, in my opinion, this is the place to share it, truly.
And I think one thing that people, there are a lot of posts on this network that I don't want to say paid, but they're through pods and things that have millions of views and all that. That's not true engagement in the truest sense. I mean, and I'm not saying that as a jealousy thing. There's just so much content out there that comes from automation. And I think it's a quality versus quantity argument here. I mean, I think we all want to be super famous and all that, but the reality is I'll take a quality network with quality posting as opposed to someone that puts down a picture to get a lot of likes. And there's been some posts like that, and we can tell them. So don't ever feel discouraged when you do posting about that. Would you agree with that, Phil?
Oh, quality over quantity, 100,000%. I mean, hands down. And I think, my philosophy, I said this earlier, my puns, my philosophy, right? So the way, if you're hesitant to get out on LinkedIn and to share content or to share your story, my philosophy has always been is if I'm able to help at least one person just through either the content that I've shared that day or through a comment that I've said on somebody's post or something, then I've done my job for the day. Now, granted, I want to try to impact more people, obviously, right. But if I'm able to at least get one person to resonate with something that I'm doing as far as value add, then that's the quality that I look for personally. I don't seek millions and millions of views. If I get it, great. If I get a viral post, okay, awesome, it went viral, okay. But it is truly the quality over the quantity. It's getting valuable, meaningful, impactful, and fulfilling content that is going to help make a difference for somebody else. So I was on a LinkedIn Live 2 hours ago on my profile with Jenna Irving, who's a content writer. She's a writer. She likes to help people also write. And she basically, I'm going to give credit to her on this, but she talked about sharing content around the we, not the I or the you. So really like having the focus on we as the community when you share work, and just that kind of thing.
You're so like when I write posts, I always ask for engagement, and sometimes it's like, what do you think, or do you agree or disagree? Because people don't always know how to engage. I think I make an assumption sometimes that people know how to do this. I had a group yesterday when we were doing LinkedIn office hours, and I actually said, let's create a poll together.
Sure.
Let's do the poll together, and let's see what happens. And by the end of the call, we had 30 people that answered the poll. I said, it's very easy to create a poll. Now, is that going to give you lots of engagement? Maybe, maybe not, but it's a starting point. Not everything it has to do. I mean, it's a way to start engagement, for sure.
I completely agree. Absolutely.
So Charlie, LinkedIn is an invitation to a conversation to establish potential business relationships, mutually beneficial. I think people lose sight of the fact that this is a relationship building network. This is not a quick fix. Some of the best leads I've had, and just come over time. I mean, it's taken years, and that's nothing wrong with that. I'm here for the long haul, and I'll stay in touch with as many people as possible, because that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking to build relationships, especially since the last 2 years I haven't been able to get out that much. I think that's so important. So, Alex, again, it's not a Facebook page where you can post the kind of pizza you enjoy. So I'm going to ask you, Alex, why do you always post pictures of cake and flowers and things on your posts when you do that here? And I'm busting his chops a little bit, but it's part of his brand, to thanking people. I think you have to feel comfortable with what you're posting and what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it has to be genuine, because people can smell fake from a mile away. And I think that's so important, to be who you are.
Yeah. Totally. And again, just when it comes from, again, from the previous live that I was in earlier, a couple hours ago, I mean, coming from the heart, really like bringing that emotion and bringing that almost like that feeling into like the content that you share. And again, being about your community versus the population, right? There's over 800 million people on LinkedIn, right? Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right? Over 800 million, we'll say 810 million people, right? Over 810 million on LinkedIn. That's a lot of people. So that's like the LinkedIn population, if you will, right? But if you focus on the community that you have, you focus on the actual people, the quality, right? The quality of person that is, in your network, right? And really learning. I also say like really like doing the research and tuning into your network and like what they're looking for, and like what you feel like would help them just along their journey, and sharing experiences that you've had, like, so I'll try to think of an example. So like if you're an entrepreneur, for example, I did a post a few months ago where I was a kind of a rough patch in my business, where I wasn't getting a lot of clients for a little bit. And I'm like, entrepreneurship is hard. Like, it's really hard. It takes a lot of grit, takes a lot of determination, takes a lot of perseverance, takes a lot of integrity, and takes a lot of, self positivity to say, hey, it's going to be another day. I'm going to make this happen and do the best I can. And so I shared that kind of experience I had a few months ago to hopefully help other entrepreneurs who are just starting out, So again, was the experience kind of a vulnerable situation? Sure. And I think it's okay to share vulnerability from time to time, as long as it's going to help, your audience, and you're able to like share it in a way that is quality. I think that's fine. I think that's good. So.
Yeah, I think one of the things I've learned over time is it's okay to take a break from doing this.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
I've taken my share of a couple of breaks, and I may check the platform a little bit on my phone, but I'm not going to be on it the same way, because it's just so important. I really want to thank you for joining, Phil, today.
This was a very quality conversation. Yeah. How about that?
So how can people connect with you, or what would you want from them? I mean,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I am on LinkedIn quite a bit during the day, and I do, when I'm not working, I am offline. So I definitely take the time away. And I think that is so important, Kat, to go off of like it can be so tempting to be on here so much, but take the breaks, get offline, take a few minutes and just, you know, rest, reflect, prepare for your next thing, because it is consuming, but you also want to make sure you give yourself breaks and time away.
Yeah.
I'm here on LinkedIn though. Please connect with me for
Yeah.
sure. This is like the place for me to reach out. So yeah, just send me a connection request. Definitely send me a personalized note. Definitely, I like those a lot. And yeah, so I'm here. This is the best way to reach me. So
Well, thank you again, Phil. Phil's from Atlanta, so wishing him some success with his Braves. Wishing you a lot of success. Next time, I really wish I'd known you were in Atlanta before, because I saw Rachel Simon there in June.
Yeah.
I don't know, are you in the city or are you in the suburbs?
We're in the burbs, so we're north of the city.
Because I was right by the stadium, the field. So we stayed not too far from there.
We're 30 minutes away. We're not far
so
at all.
I'm looking forward to getting together with you. Thanks a lot, Phil. One of my favorite go-to LinkedIn job seeker tribe. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, friend.